Okay, I want to do basically a video on the Courtney Tailor situation. And basically, this one is kind of a response video to reaction video to someone else's video. But more than that, I wanted to add in the front part how I find it weird when people try and act like it's made up. But actually, I'm going to put that at the back of it. But I just want to basically respond, I guess, to this. I may put it in the front and the back actually, but let's just respond. Reaction video to it.
And back at it again with another episode of the Celebrity Junk. Dima, I'm a piano music. So guys, we're flying all the way to Miami. And I mean Miami is cracking, right? The weather is good, the food is good, and the ladies are fine. But man, my boy Christian Toby Obamseli, a brother from Nigeria, living in America. Man, he had a nice one. I'm talking about, I don't really do the white girl thing, but if she wasn't crazy, maybe I might get some booty clapping sounds. Yeah, he had it all laid out. He was living in Miami's Edgewater neighborhood inside of One Paraiso. I think that's like a nice condominium. And I mean, man, he was just, styling, right? And, they're out there having fun and, living good, taking pictures, partying. He got a fly white girl. He's kissing her in the cars. And then all of a sudden, can I get a da-da-da sound effect, Dima? Hitchcock music. And then it was like, give me some stabbing sound effects. It was all bad. One night, she came through, stabbed my boy up. Then what she tried to do, she tried to hide her name under.
That part. So, first off, I don't get why these people keep trying to act like she stabbed him up so much when it's like specifically he was only stabbed in the shoulder. Like, why are people making so much of an exaggerated level of this situation just because she's white and he's black? Like, domestic abuse happens to people, regardless of the races of the people. That just happens to people. And, people have to defend themselves. So I don't get why people do that. Add it to the fact that it's funny that people will try and act like she was the one who was crazy and she was the one who had issues or whatever, but at the same time, he specifically said he wanted someone who was submissive. And to me, that reads in this situation pretty much like he probably wanted someone who he thought he could beat up and feel like he has no threat. He feels like, they won't stand up to him. He can basically just, have as a punching bag, basically. And, you could say, how could you really think that just off of that? Maybe that's a leap. But even if it was a leap, how come she called the police on him 7 times the month before? Like, I don't understand. People are always doing these weird things. It's just like the same thing with, like, the George Floyd situation where they tried to make up all these reasons why the person wasn't at fault. And it's like, they do this with black men often. When it's like, when someone commits a crime, they commit a crime, okay? If they die by that crime, if they get killed by that crime, if they end up in prison, if they get beat up by that crime, well, if that crime wasn't happening at the time it was happening, they would not have gotten the repercussions of committing that crime. So I don't get why people try to blame other people for black men in these cases. They always want to make like some kind of victimization of them. It's like everybody else can be a perpetrator of a crime, but a black man, they try to come up with as many excuses until they can't. And it's like, to me, I'm like, we're all people at the end of the day, right? And we're all responsible for the actions that we commit, you know. So it's just weird to me that people would try and act like they're going to ignore the big elephant in the room that, specifically in this case, he was having the police called on him 7 times in the last month. I mean, he was stabbed only in his shoulder. That, to me, in itself shows that obviously her intent was not to kill him. And it also lines up with the idea that obviously he was domestically abusive in the past. It's not really shocking that he was domestically abusive this time, and because of that, she stabbed him in the shoulder to stop him. Not to kill him, but to stop him. He just happened to die, weirdly, by being stabbed in the shoulder. People are stabbed, shot, and all sorts of things in the shoulder. Nobody usually dies of that. So, thinking someone had the intent to kill is far-fetched. It just, to me, implies that she didn't intend to kill him. You know, and people trying to lie like this and try and make up stuff just simply because she's a white woman and he's a black man, to me, just shows how people are being basically racist in these situations where they're just trying to villainify the white person instead of dealing with the actual facts. So continue.
Tried to hide her name under the Baker Act. That's right. And guess what? She's a fucking OnlyFans model. God damn! Now, he was next to a Rolls Royce, right? Blood.
What does it matter if she's an OnlyFans model? Honestly, that actually aligns more with the whole thing of domestic abuse. Often people who are sex workers, their partners are more likely to physically abuse them and to commit domestic violence against them. Because people view sex workers a certain way and they devalue these women. And so because of that, they risk more chance of actually being domestically abused. So actually pointing out that she was an OnlyFans model is basically proving the fact that he most likely was abusive towards her. Added to the fact that you can also see by some of the things she was saying, the type of men she was attracted to and interested in, specifically athletes. Athletes tend to be more aggressive and more likely to commit domestic abuse. So understanding that makes you understand that she might have more of a propensity to be with a man who is capable of basically physically assaulting her and committing basically domestic violence against her. Continue.
It was everywhere. But here's what happened, right? Previously to that, she called the police at least 7 times in the last month on the guy. Now, let me just talk about this because...
Exactly. And that is what shows that he was physically abusive to her, because she did call the police 7 times before. Obviously, she didn't intend to kill him at the end of the month after she called 7 times. Oh, she called the police on him while he was just having dinner and nothing was going on. They would have made note of that and said, she's been calling the police 7 times off of nothing happening. And obviously, she's not calling the police on herself 7 times in 1 month. So obviously, when people are saying she was physically abusive to him, she wouldn't be calling the police on herself for physically abusing him.
The story is still quite new, and she tried to hide her identity, but one of the things that we know is, like, right after she stabbed our guy, she was posting up booty clapper sounds, Tatiana pictures on OnlyFans. And I just want guys to understand certain things. You gotta start or stop leading.
So on to that part, I don't get why people keep talking about basically the photos that she has up on OnlyFans, what does that have to do with anything? One, the fact that she had to be mentally evaluated after that situation, obviously that was a very traumatic situation. So I don't understand why people act like, oh, it's so shocking that she was mentally evaluated and, committed. I mean, that makes sense. She was experiencing domestic violence. She's been experiencing domestic violence for a month, enough that it's so bad that she has to call the police for fear of her life 7 times in 1 month. And then on top of it, she has to basically stab this guy to get him to, stop beating her up or whatever, and maybe possibly putting her life at risk again. To me, obviously that would be traumatic. If you just saw someone die before your eyes for whatever reason, that would be traumatic. So, I mean, like, that's not really a shock that she was um, mentally evaluated and committed and put under the Baker's Act. To me, I just think, people react to different situations differently. And with trauma, people react like that often. So, I mean, like, this is, to me, why I don't understand people have so little empathy for people who are struggling in situations like this is just mind-boggling in my opinion. But continue.
With race. Okay? Right now, she is bailed out of prison, okay, or jail, and her name is Courtney Tailor. Stop the show. I'm looking at you, Courtney Tailor. You thought you were gonna.
Lord knows I can't sing, but luckily I just got some
Shoot.
credits from the Smule app. So
I'm sorry, I get these commercials sometimes.
And her name is Courtney Tailor. Stop the show. I'm looking at you, Courtney Tailor. You thought you were gonna get away with this, but no, we're gonna bust your ass out, all right? And
But charges weren't pressed. So, I mean, like, trying to villainify someone who just went through a very traumatic event, to me, it's just weird. Why do people try and make it out to be like, oh, someone killed somebody or whatever? It's just the same. It's not the same, but it seems like it's similar to the other situations where people were basically like, a black person died in the presence of a white person, so the white person had to have been the person who killed them. In this case, it's similar in the sense where you're villainifying a domestic violence survivor, basically, because you think that she should be villainified because she's white and he's black. That's just really sick, because it's like a lot of the time domestic violence survivors are women. So a good portion are going to be white women, and sometimes it might be someone who is perpetrating it that's black or whatever race. So it's like, why are you just basically villainifying this lady just simply because of her race? Like, if someone villainified him just because of his race, that would be seen as racist. But when you're doing it to her, it's okay just because she's a white woman. That's sick.
but no, we're gonna bust your ass out, all right? And obviously they were having problems, and allegedly she's in a psychiatric hospital. But I want guys to understand something. Just because she's white, don't make it right, all right? Again, just because she's white, don't make it right. You can be black and she can be white, and you cannot get along. You can both be toxic for each other, and then guess what? You're still black. And here's one thing that white people, and I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but here's that thing I will say that some white women feel that they can do. Blame your black ass for everything and get a.
See, that's what I mean. Why the constant hate towards white women? You don't know this situation. You just assume this is the situation. Someone could say that black men are very violent, so of course she had to stab him. That would be racist too. But when we're talking about white women, you're saying that, oh, basically they're conniving and they'll just manipulate the situation and just frame you for something, right? That's what I mean. You're no different than the people who say that you are violent and therefore, you should be locked up, or people should use violence against you when you're not being violent. And in this case, it doesn't seem like he wasn't being violent. Um, but you don't like when people assume that you're a danger to society, that you're violent, just based off of the fact that you are a black man. So I don't understand why people want to put the other types of stereotypes on other people based off of their race and their gender. Like, that's just weird to me. Like, if you don't like the stereotypes on yourself, don't implement them on others.
Way with it. So in her mind, I'm pretty sure, I'm not saying he's perfect. She's thinking, you know what? I'm a white lady. He'll take my word against his. And if I stab him, I can say self-defense. And you know what? I ain't got to release my name to the public. Right? And I'm telling you guys.
And that's the thing to me. It's like, how can you come up with such an idea when you've seen for a long, they said for 3 months, the police have been being called on him. And they said 7 times she called the police on him in 1 month. So, I mean, she's not just planning this the whole time through. That's not what's going on there, obviously. You act like she just came up with this when she stabbed him. That's not true. If that was the case, there would not be any calls in the past implying that he's been physically abusing her. The people in their home, near their home, the neighbors and stuff, would not witness him abusing her. So, I mean, like, to me, it's just like, I don't really think that this makes much sense to say, oh, she planned all this. She planned this from the beginning of their relationship? The longer time you say that she planned this out, 3 months out, 1 month out, it's going to seem less credible because you're basically saying that all the things that precipitated it were not real. Well, then if that was the case, they would have, like I said, documented in the past that she calls the police on him and nothing is happening. Neighbors would say she just calls the police randomly. They wouldn't say that he's the aggressor and he's attacking her. So that's just how I see that. Continue.
Guys out there, you walk into these traps. Number one, let me just say this, okay, about the Nigerian American community. Now, I know a lot of Nigerians in America are very, very successful, just like in Britain, all right? And a lot of times, Nigerian American people, they're very highly skilled in the economy, law school, dental school, entrepreneurship. And I know that for some people in the Nigerian American men, dating white women it could be preferred, not a problem. It's not like us in the African American community where we marry a white woman and there's all hell breaks loose. For them, it's not a real big risk. Okay, but I know whoever his parents were, or who his parents are, they didn't come to America for him to be.
I agree with that, though, the whole thing of, Nigerians being successful and things of that nature. Continue.
Dating and mating and have a serious relationship with a girl like her who's on OnlyFans, bragging about how wet her kitty is.
Oh, commercial.
3 signs you are addicted to stress. Sign 1. You can't stop.
OnlyFans, bragging about how wet her kitty.
That's what I don't get. Why are people so obsessed with her OnlyFans account? This to me just seems like, how some people have this weird obsession and anger and hate towards women who are sex workers, and some people who, are more open about those sort of things. To me, it seems like it gives me those vibes of, like how some people have that like obsession with like prostitutes and stuff, where to the point where they become violent and stuff and actually want to, do things that are not legal with them. But to me, it gives me that vibe because it's like, why are you so obsessed with what she does in her personal life? The fact that she's an OnlyFans model doesn't have anything to do with whether he was domestically abusive. The fact that she called the police on him 7 times in 1 month because of domestic abuse that he committed against her. I mean, besides the fact that, the neighbors specifically said that he was the abuser, he was the aggressor. So to me, I mean, like, this is just weird. Why do you want to try to character assassin people? Well, that must mean that you know that he's in the wrong. You know he was the violent aggressor. You know that he was abusing her. But you just want to create a certain narrative because you don't like the fact that the image of black men being the aggressor and being violent goes against you. And it's like, not every black man represents any other black man. So another black man's bad actions and violence against his girlfriend or his wife or his partner of any kind does not mean that another black man is violent, So it's like, you don't have to be so upset because there was a black man who was domestically abusive to his girlfriend and his girlfriend defended herself. I think that's more of the problem here. I think more of the issue is that these black men are upset because they think it makes them look badly because they have someone out here who was attacking their girlfriend. And I think maybe specifically because she was white, it really makes them look badly to them because they think that they're like, that's how they treat their white girlfriends or whatever. I don't think it really depends on what race she is. More so, this was a violent man. Therefore, to me, it's just like, it's not really anything against black men. It's just specific to that man and that situation. So continue.
It is. And I know that you don't believe me, but let's just look at this, let's look at this post, shall we? Day music! Blondes have wetter coochie cat. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Now, here's the problem with this. That is April the 4th, right? When you see it, April the 4th, stop the show. Wanna know what's so funny? She killed him on April the 3rd! April the 3rd! Imagine your ex-girlfriend stabs you up. Stabbing sounds, Dima. And then guess what after that? She's making posts about how wet her coochie is. Wanna know why? Because she has...
But to me, one thing is, some people have even said about that post that it's an automatic thing, so it's pre-posted and then it's posted that day. Either way, to me, I don't understand someone who's been torturing you for months, someone you had to call the police for 7 times in 1 month because you were in fear of your life. I don't understand why that person should really be... why should that person really want to go back to that torture? I don't get it. Why would someone want to be back in that torture chamber, basically? Why would they want to be beat up? Why would they want to be in fear of their life? Why would they want to have to call the police on someone that lives with them and torments them 7 times a month? Why would they want to go back to that? So, expecting someone to be regretful or whatever, to me, well, shouldn't he be regretful, if anyone? Because he's the one who was the aggressor. He instigated the whole situation. So, I don't understand why someone should feel remorseful for actually trying to defend themselves and actually trying to just survive a traumatic incident.
No remorse. And don't feel that your life was worth anything. Still posting on OnlyFans.
He clearly didn't have any remorse when he was trying to beat her up. So, I mean, like, if we're really talking about remorse here, he had 7 times to feel remorse every time she called the police on him. And apparently he didn't, because he still kept trying to beat on her.
Right after the fact. Look at this post. We'll try to blur that nipple out there. Sad music. Okay, now turn your head and cough. Long hair don't care. Guys have to really vet the chick you're dealing with. Stop thinking like, oh, well, she's white and she's on OnlyFans. That's going to be okay. But if she's black on OnlyFans, she's starting it up. Oh, hell no, I can't date those black chicks. But then guess what? You go out there and you give somebody an opportunity to do something. Because let me just say this real quick. If you have a black chick, okay, and she's giving you problems 7 times in a row, tell you what, your friend's going to be like, oh, man, you need to leave her alone. Oh, sorry, sad music. Man, you out there struggling with that black chick. Man, go out there and get you a Becky. Go out there and get you a white girl, man. You ain't going to be suffering with that. And if you're dealing with a white girl for, 7, 8 times, call the police. Oh, man, shoot, fool, she love you, man. You got you a good one, bro. Man, just give her some D. So we all know we're going to be real. A lot of brothers will excuse buffoonish behavior from white women and then be so quick to down talk black women, okay? And this could happen.
No, that's no one's fault but black men being desperate. That's nobody's fault. I don't understand how you're going to blame anyone for that. But I guess that's good advice to black men. Don't be desperate. But I don't think in this case that's what happened. Specifically, this man said that he wanted someone who's submissive. And basically, someone who was more compliant with him, basically, beating them up and using them as a punching bag and things of that nature, So to me, I mean, like, I don't think it was a situation where I think he thought he found what he wanted, but he was mistaken because, I mean, everybody wants to not be in fear of their life. I mean, that's just not human nature. No matter how submissive someone is, it's but so much someone can take, and if you are really making someone fear for their lives 7 times a month where they have to call the police, of course, they're going to, they're going to have some form or try some form of self-defense eventually, because what else do you expect them to do? If they're going to stay with you, of course they're going to try to stay alive. No one stays with someone to die. So, continue.
From any woman. Guys, some of you brothers have worked too hard. And I understand we got problems in the black community and dating, but are you going to lose your life or lose your income over dating people who are crazy just because she's white or Asian or any other race? Well, that don't mean that she ain't got problems. Like, are you serious? Even if you prefer white women or Asian women, you need to be dealing with somebody that's on your level. Maybe that was his level, I'm not sure.
Obviously, if you are physically abusing somebody and they have called the police on you 7 times in 1 month, I don't think she's the one who's being crazy here. Continue, though.
But guys need to do a better job because there's too many guys ending up in situations like this, all right? Dealing with chicks who are no good. Dealing with chicks who probably have drug problems. Alcohol, partying in the club. Trying to make you jealous on purpose. Why don't you leave when it gets toxic, guys? Why are you there struggling with her? I don't care what color she is. Why are you there struggling with her when you don't have to? But so many men are stuck on one woman because you don't feel like you can get another chick that looks like that. Bro, there's plenty of chicks out there with fake boobs that you can talk to, like her. All right? The only...
To me, I kind of feel like people don't realize, obviously, if you're an abusive man, or an abusive woman for that matter, you're not going to have an easy sailing situation because you are committing harm against your partner. There's always going to be struggle because you are physically harming your partner. So saying, why did he put up with struggle? Because could he find someone who wouldn't struggle against him physically abusing, physically assaulting? And putting up with the fact that, like I said, having to call the police on this individual several times a month. So, yeah, of course he was going to struggle with whoever he was with because of how he treats his partners.
Problem with him is that we'll never see him again because he's gone. So guys, take care of yourself. But as you know, the buffoonery remains an all-time high. I really appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe, hit the bell, check out the first comment at the top. And as you know, the buffoonery remains an all-time high. I am out.
Yeah, and to me, honestly, I kind of think in total, you get kind of what you put in, in this situation. If you are constantly, an aggressor and someone who physically assaults and abuses women, of course, that's the energy and the behavior that you're putting forward. Of course, what do you expect to come back at you? You can't really expect people to just lie back and just wait till you do way too much and end their lives. People have a sense of self-preservation. No matter how much they love that person, for that matter, people still want to live. They're not going to just lie back and let someone end their lives simply because, they have a temper or they're the aggressor normally and maybe they don't kill them because they've survived all this time. You don't know when that time is going to be that time when they actually end your life. So, if someone is being attacked and they defend themselves, and considering the fact that with this lady, she only stabbed him in the shoulder, that lets you know that she was not trying to kill anybody. She was just trying to live and trying to defend herself. There's nothing wrong with a person trying to defend themselves. No matter if that person that they are trying to defend themselves against is a black man or a white man. You can't get so stuck in race. This is a person who has had the police called on him 7 times because of domestic abuse in 1 month. This is a man who said he wanted a submissive woman who basically will just lie down and take whatever he gives. And then added to the fact that after all of that, and after being with this man who seems like a volatile man, she still only tried to stab him in the shoulder. Lets you know that she wasn't trying to kill anybody. She was just trying to defend herself. So that's all I have to say in this video. I think people just need to stop being like, I hate white people. I hate white people. I hate white people. This isn't one of those situations where it has to do with anything to do with racism. But black people who are like this, who find a black person committing a crime, we bring up racism all the time because they want to basically prove that, they want to be absolved of any wrongdoing. So they bring up racism, You will see this often with black men, and you will see this sometimes with black women too, but you see this most often with many situations with black men, and when they're committing crimes, it's always about some racism. And it's like, it flies in the face of all the evidence that was proven that this was not about race. This was about the actions of this man and people responding to the actions of this man. Like I said, the police would have said she just calls the police on him because he's having dinner or nothing's going on, really. But no, she called the police 7 times because he was attacking her. So, I mean, like, this is all the evidence you guys need. But like I said, you're just upset because it's a race issue and you're stuck on race and you're obsessed with race and you really need to stop. So that's all I'm going to say in this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like and subscribe and have a great day.